Hey, welcome to Vic Sports Center. I am standing next to our first Z521c that we have gotten into our shop, and I got to tell you, I'm super excited about this boat. We, as a rule here at the shop, sell a lot of 21 footers, so this is our new Cadillac boat. This is it. This one has all the bells and whistles and all the new features. A couple of things with the Z521c is they did make the boat actually longer. The old 521 was actually 21.3. and now this boat is 21.7, so it's a 21-foot 7-inch boat, and it's 96 inches wide instead of 95 inches wide. There's a lot of other features that they have stuck in these boats now, all the way from having big dashes that we can put an HDS 12 or an 1198 Hummingbird in the console and up on the bow, okay, in both. The other nice thing that Ranger does with those fish finders is it's all cut into a panel. So let's say 3 years from now you decide you want to buy new electronics. You don't have to go do any fiberglass work. You don't have to try to rig anything. You call Ranger, or we call Ranger, we get a new panel for the fish finder that you want to purchase. It's already pre-cut, everything. It comes in, we unscrew it, we put the new fish finder into it and screw it back in place, and everything is done. So it's really nice now that we're having such turnover with electronics, when it went from the HDS 8s and 10s now to the touch 9s and 12s, it makes a big difference 3 or 4 years down the line when you go to buy new electronics. So the great thing about it is Ranger's really thinking and really being on the front edge of all the new technology, making sure their boats are state-of-the-art. And so there's a lot of awesome features to this boat, not just with the running service and the way the boat runs, but also interior. They've really thought it out. We're going to go through all that here in just a minute. Okay, and here we are up on the bow of the new Z521c. As you see, we have our 101 4-Trex Minn Kota trolling motor with universal sonar, so we have sonar built right into the trolling motor. We have the 4-Trex mount that actually has lift assist in it, which is very important on these bigger trolling motors because, number one, putting it down, it just goes down slow on its own, and bringing it up, it's 50% easier to pull up. And these things are heavy, so I can tell you it's a great feature to have the lift assist. Again, this is the front panel that we were talking about, being removable and be able to just put a new panel on and put anything you want in here. So we have an HDS 9 touch in here right now. It's a beautiful unit. The touch units people really are starting to get into and love. Very easy to navigate through, whether you just pop on and go to charts. You just touch the screen. It's really pretty cool. It's almost like using an iPad. So very awesome technology. If you haven't seen it, stop in, and we have a simulator here. We can go through all these new units with you. But one unique thing that they have done up here on the front deck, number one, the front deck is very wide all the way up to the front of the boat, which is a huge feature, especially if you're going to fish 2 guys up on the front deck. Okay, so being very wide all the way to the front is great. They did offset the fish finder a little bit. So if you notice, the fish finder is off to the right a little bit, and the reason they did that is they ran the trolling motor cable through this area. Now you never have, once you throw your trolling motor down, the cable never gets in front of your fish finder ever again, which was that's a huge deal when you're fishing out there all day and the cable sits there and keeps going in front of your fish finder. It's really a nuisance. The other thing are the tool holders and the cup holder. Now, cup holder can be for obviously a pop or a water, or it can also be for fish formula, which is always a great thing to have right up front. And these are tool holders for your hemostats, your pliers, what have you. Amazingly comfortable, and I can tell you that if you haven't, not having this on the front deck, you're always leaving your pliers just laying around. They blow off when you're running. This is great. Everything's very organized. Their pans for their trolling motor are not a metal pan. They are actually all fiberglassed in with a metal ring all the way around. But they are fiberglassed all the way, and they do have a drain down the bottom that goes all the way down to the hull of your boat. So just a great deal there. They have new push-button dashes, whether you're going to trim up or trim down your live wells, how often your live wells come on, your auto bilge, your manual bilge, interior lights, and anchor lights. The other thing that I think the camera can zoom off to the side is that we are kind of packed in here in the showroom. We do have all of our new 2014s in right now. But they've gotten away from having the horn up here with the navigation light in it. Okay, that navigation light always got in the way of your trolling motor, number one, and number two, it seemed like they broke a lot. And so Ranger really works to try to eliminate any issues they're having by just making a better system. So they actually have navigation lights built right into the side of the boat now. And you can see the green on this side, the red is obviously on that side. But they're built right in. They look awesome. The boat looks like it has eyes coming towards you when you're coming down the lake. And it really works perfect, and it's very fail-proof, as they are built right in and very waterproof, and everything works great with them. Alright, now we're on the front deck of the boat, which is just simply awesome. When you close this compartment, you look at how large this deck is. Another thing to always notice is how wide it is right here by the pedestal, because you can actually walk past your pedestal without turning sideways. The other thing is there are two pedestal locations. Some people like to be a little bit further forward when they're fishing, some like to be a little further back. Going into the compartments, well actually let's do the rod buckles first. We have retractable rod buckles here. We have pop-up cleats all around the boat, which are wonderful that they pop up because your rod tips don't get under them when you're not using them and break a rod tip. So they fold right down and they're out of the way. All of their compartment latches are stainless steel on the Z5 series, and if you watch, they actually compress. So when you push that down, it sucks that lid down against the seal. They are all lockable, by the way. They have a double seal all around all of their compartments. They're literally airtight. Okay, and one thing that Ranger has done because of that, Ranger lids, number one, are very thick. They actually have a core in them that are insulated, so you don't have as much heat transfer in them. Number two, they seal them with that seal all the way around. They have a water drainage system on their front deck. And they also have now, on the Z520 and 521, have a fan system in them. So basically, if you fish all day in the rain, you get a lot of humidity in your boat, at the end of the day, you plug in your battery charger, hit the fan button on your boat, and now air blows into all of your compartments in the boat. And that way, you don't have the condensation or your bait's getting all moldy or your rod's getting moldy. So, let your boat air out perfect, even under the cover, which is very nice. Their rod lockers are all fiberglass with rubber mats in them. That was a call that the fishermen wanted. They did not want to have carpet in their rod locker, so they did away with it. Huge organizer up front here. Put this lid down. Again, watch it suck down. Over here, we do have a cooler. Okay? And we also have a second cooler, which is the step up here. So two coolers on the front deck. People say, why would you want two coolers? I can tell you there's a lot of times you will put one cooler completely full of ice, another cooler with your pop and your water and your lunch or what have you, because you may ice your fish sometime during that day when it's super hot. And you can throw a good big bag of ice in there and ice your fish, or freeze some jugs. So that's why it's nice to have two coolers. The center rod locker is just incredible. And the nice thing about their center rod locker, number one, if you notice, they use two shock absorbers on it because it's such a big lid. Okay, we can see our drains now for our water that ends up settling on the front deck. So that all drains out. And if you can see into the compartment, they have it set up that you can put 10 rods up the center, very easy. There's a rubber mat there. Okay, again, your fan inlet on both sides. And then you can stack planos here, here, there, and there. So you get 8 planos in it, very easy, and still have all your rods. If you decide you do not want to set this up as a rod locker and you want this all as storage, you just simply place your divider where you want it. So if you want to run planos all the way up to here, slide that in place, and now you can have planos all the way up here. I mean, you can literally probably get 60 planos in this box, which is an awful lot of gear. So, very well laid out, very easy to use. Close that big lid. Over here we just have another big storage box. And here we have our day box. And the day box is very nice because that's where you can put all of your planos that you're going to, most of your tackle that you know you're going to use that day. I know when me and Victor go fishing, we put all of our terminal gear in there, the stuff we're going to use constantly, whether it be rubber baits or jig heads or what we're using that day. Okay? Spinnerbait boxes, there's a shelf up there, you can throw a couple spinnerbait boxes up there, and Victor also throws a couple cans of Spike It up in there, and it stays on this little shelf, and it's very well organized. So that's the greatest thing about these boats. There's so much room, you can be very organized, and an organized day on the water is always a good day on the water. Alright, now we're at the console area, the cockpit area of this aircraft. I can tell you, this thing's unbelievable. When you're coming up between the consoles, first of all, there's tool holders on both sides. Very nice. Lots of tool holders, but again, being organized is great. your bunk board slides right in. So you do not have to open a compartment to get to your bunk board, and you hope you need that a lot. Another great feature is the net holder. The butt of your net actually goes in there, and the net itself sits right here. Great feature, because I'll tell you, when you're running down the lake, most people put their net over their power pole or their pro seat up front, or they try to strap it down. It's always in the way. This is great. It slides right up in there, very safe, especially on a long run, and especially like up on Lake Erie. Huge feature to have your net very secure. Getting to the dash, we have 2 touch button pads, one on each side. We have 3 accessories: the oxygenator for your live well, the fan, turn it on, your live well system, your timer, how often, and your interior lights. Which, when you turn those interior lights on, all the compartments in your boat light up, and also they have one underneath the console up here. We're going to shut the lights off later because this thing looks like a beast coming at you with a big glowing red on both fronts of the consoles. One other thing to notice about the console is how they're cut down. I've had a lot of customers coming in lately saying, oh, I want a single console. Even on a big boat, they want a single console. And when they see how roomy the dual console is, they end up buying duals. With these consoles being set like this and then widen out, there's plenty of room coming up through here. In the old days, the boats were narrower and everybody bought a single console because there was no room coming between between the consoles. Now, there's plenty of room. Going to the dash, we do have an HDS 12 in here, so obviously that's about the biggest unit you can get right now. You can also put an 1198 Humminbird in there. Again, with a removable panel, you can take one out, put a new one in. Okay? We have trim and tilt on both sides of the blinkers on both sides of the wheel. One is for trim and tilt, and one is for the hydraulic jack plate. Okay? We have hydraulic jack plate gauge. These are all digital mercury gauges now. They are not analog gauges anymore, which is very nice. We still do have a SmartCraft gauge in the Z5 series, in the 5, 18, 19, 20, and 21, which on the regular Z series we do not have SmartCrafts anymore because these are all digital gauges. Okay? Hydraulic steering, and then over here we have another touchpad. That's how we actually start our boat. So right now the start sequence is set. It's start 1, 2, 3, 4, start, start, and that boat will start. Okay? You also have an auto bilge and a manual bilge set up on that side, and again we already have the interior lights on. So it's also on the Z520 and the Z521 we do have a sliding driver's seat, and we also have your hot foot is set up on a slide. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're 6'8", you can fit in this boat, and then you can let your buddy who's 5'2" hop in, make some minor adjustments, and he can go drive that boat, which in the old days that was impossible. So very well thought out. A lot of room in this area, and I know I'm going to stand up and I'm not going to be on the camera, but just a ton of walk around space in this Z521 in this area. And I can tell you that we actually did get one in that was only here for a couple hours. When the customer, when I took him out to the lake to run the boat, he stood up the first time and walked in this area, and he says, you have no idea how nice this is to be able to stand up, take your life jacket off, and have a little bit of a walkable area in this area. Is very convenient for him. He was an older gentleman. He just loved the way the boat felt because of that. Between the seats, standard now, is actually like a little glove box, which is very nice. Very well built, very heavy built, but a nice glove box. Put your cell phone in, do whatever. More cup holders. And I think he can scan over. We have the world's largest glove box for a bass boat. It is huge. There's actually lights in here. Okay, and this thing is very deep. You can see it's a very big glove box. It does have a shelf up here for your cell phone. Okay, and you can order, if you order properly, you can get a 12-volt receptacle in there for your cell phone. So you put your cell phone in there and charge it right in your glove box, which would be very handy. Okay, we are back now on the rear deck of the boat, and a couple things that they have changed, and you can get there's a couple different options on the live wells now. You can get a single lid, you can get a split lid, you can get them with the sliding plexiglass tops, you can get them without. So they do have a couple options now. The plexiglass people have really liked. They can open up their live wells, look into them and say, okay, here we are, I need to call the ball, you have calling tags on your fish. When you're calling fish, it seems to be a really nice option, but you can look inside there and say, I need to grab them from this side. It is still a split live well, so if you do have a partner, and or if you're fishing against the guy in the back of the boat, then you can say, okay, you got that side and I've got this side, and you can go. But again, very nice live well system. Lighted, circulating, recirculating live wells, and pump outs, and on this particular boat an oxygenator, because this particular boat has the touring package on it. And the touring package has a lot of neat features to it, and one of them is the oxygenator. Another thing on the rear deck is your storage box. And I know it's tough for the camera to see into a storage box, but one great thing about Ranger storage boxes is they are perfectly finished. And people have to realize that there's a lot of different boats out there, and when you open up a compartment and it's perfectly fiberglassed with a drain in it, it's also insulated. It could be a great cooler if you need another cooler for any reason, but it is perfectly finished. Okay, it is not an insert. And that is one of the huge things that Ranger does, is all of their compartments are fully finished and are also fully fiberglassed. The nice thing about that is when they put the hull and the deck together, on the bottom of all their compartments they actually put glue. So when that boat goes together, it's not coming apart, okay, because there is a lot of structure to those compartments. So that gives Ranger the feel of a one-piece boat, not a two-piece boat like other boats have. Also, with the amount of foam, it makes them very quiet. You don't hear an echoing sound when you're driving down the lake with a Ranger when you hit a wave. A lot of boats, when you hit a wave, you hear that thump, thump, thump through the hull. You just don't feel that. Our hulls are fully foamed, our decks are fully foamed. It makes a huge difference, number one, in strength of the boat, number two, in ride, and number three, I think the longevity of the boat. I've noticed that we get in boats that are in the shop here, we'll take trade-ins that are 1986 Rangers. The trailers are still in great shape, the boats are still in great shape. You just don't see that in other boat lines, and a lot of it has to do with, number one, the materials that the other boat lines are using to build their boats. Number two, it's the way they're constructed, and I do feel that foam really makes a big difference. It insulates the boats, their glass work stays perfect a lot longer, it doesn't get post-cure and ripple, it cuts down on any type of stress cracks or anything like that, and you'll notice that, and I tell a lot of people, Ranger was not the first bass boat company in the world, but I can tell you, you will never, it's very rare to ever see, especially for sale, a 1980 anything else. And there's still a lot of 1980 Rangers running around out there. Ranger is now 46 years old, okay? And there's older ones out there. I've seen some incredible ones out there. But it's amazing to see, you can go online and actually see old Rangers for sale still that are still definitely seaworthy and definitely have held up great, and they're not all cracked up or beat up. And that's just because of the way Ranger has always built their boats, with the top quality material and with the workmanship that they put into them, and all the extra things they do inside the boat that you can't see makes a Ranger a Ranger. Okay, we've been going through this boat, and now this is a very important area of the boat, and this is our battery and battery charger area. Number one, this particular boat will have 4 batteries, so we do have a 4-bank charger. We have a 4-bank 15 amp per bank charger also, because when you're using these bigger trolling motor batteries, if you pull them all the way dead, you have to have a big charger to bring them back up, or else it's not going to charge overnight. One thing that a lot of the boats have been having an issue with, and I shouldn't say just in the bass boat world, it's in all the boats, is these new electronics are pulling so much power, because they're basically mini computers, is the batteries, your starting batteries going dead. On this particular rig, we do have a Mercury 250 Pro XS, and an Optimax actually does take a lot of cranking amps to start. Some motors require more reserve capacity. Mercury requires a high cranking amps to start this motor. So what happens is you go out, you're fishing all day, you're not using your big motor a whole lot running around, you're on the trolling motor, you have your live wells running all day, you have an HDS 12 running all day with structure scan, you've got an HDS 9 on the front running all day. I got to tell you, your starting battery starts to get a little weak by the end of the day. You have lights on in the morning, navigation lights, compartment lights. And what has gone on in the old days, everyone carried either an extra battery or everyone carried a set of jumper cables. Well, as everyone would know, if you're sitting there number one in a tournament and all of a sudden right at the end your motor's not starting and you're in a rush, you're in trouble, okay? Or if you're in big waves, it's kind of dangerous to get back here and play with batteries when you're in your boat. So Ranger's kind of eliminated that. First of all, they put a switch on in the corner of their back compartments here, and the first part of the switch says off and charge. So at the end of the day, you shut it off, all the power is killed to everything in the boat. The motor doesn't trim, nothing on the dash will turn on, everything's off, okay? Now when you get up in the morning, you plug your charger in, you let it charge. In the morning you turn it on or run, and that will start your motor and everything runs just like a normal boat, okay? But at the end of the day, when all of a sudden you need a jump start, instead of having to jump for jumper cables or have an extra battery, you actually switch it to jump start. Now jump start will switch and use your starting battery and will also use one of your trolling motor batteries. It still only sees 12 volts, but it is using one of your trolling motor batteries for extra power. Now there have been times that I have seen through the years that the starting battery is so dead that it will not jump through the starting battery from one of your trolling motors and start the motor. And if that happens, then you just switch it to battery 2 only. So it pretty well eliminates any issues of you jumping back here or trying to change wires, trying to use a set of jumper cables. It takes care of all of that right there in that one switch, which is a huge feature. Your battery charger is located right there. In front of it is a spot for a spare prop. Okay, your 3 trolling motor batteries go over there on the far side, and they do have an on-off breaker right there also for your trolling motor batteries. So very, very convenient to have, set up wonderfully. You can get great access to everything. Even your aerator pumps you can get perfect access to down in that compartment. You don't have to pull batteries, you don't have to do anything. You reach in, you turn the cartridge out, put a new cartridge in, plug it in, you're done. So very convenient for the tournament angler that may be under a little time pressure, to say the least. Okay, we're in the very back of the boat now with our big beautiful Mercury motor here. Obviously we have hydraulic steering. We do run a lot of Atlas jack plates. A lot of people call me and say, hey, which jack plate should I get? The reason one of the main reasons we go with Atlas is because the pump for the Atlas is on the unit. Okay? Yes, we sell a lot of these boats without power poles, like this one's not rigged with them, but we do sell a lot of them with power poles. If the pump for the jack plate was in the bottom of the boat, it would be very difficult to run 2 power pole pumps in there and a jack plate pump. So we're looking ahead and saying we need to have the Atlas that has the pump on the outside. We can mount our power pole brackets right here, and boom, we're set. We put the pumps, we have a big access panel here. We get in there, we put the pumps in. The other thing Ranger has done back here is here's where all your bilge pumps and aerator pumps pump out. Okay, you have remote oil fill. Also, your hydraulic steering lines are beautifully done. They aren't just ran out and hoses laying everywhere. They are perfect with a nice stainless C-Star system. Also, a remote drain plug. These new hulls have a very big pad, and that's how we've gotten a little extra bow lift out of these Rangers and some extra speed for sure. And so now it's very easy to put your plug in and out. Just turn the knob. It's a wonderful feature. They've actually left us a grommet over here to run our power pole wires out of already. Okay, so they have got us completely set up and ready to roll, all setting on the back of this boat. These boats have, like this new Z series boats, have definitely picked up a little bit of speed, so it's great to see that with this 250XS, these boats are really running good. Up into the 70s, I know the Z520c that we've got to run a lot, we've actually seen pictures of people's GPSs running 77 and 78 miles an hour on the GPS. So they are really running. It's not the old Ranger that was very slow and very flat running. These boats have a nice big pad in the back. They have a nice lot of bow lift if you want it. You just keep hitting that trim button and it'll lift right up for us. Okay, we're back in the middle of the boat and we're kind of where we started. And a couple things I wanted to point out on the side of the boat is basically the trailer. And if you look, our trailers all have fiberglass fenders. They have a wonderful step that they have now put in the middle of the fender. Okay, and that was a problem in the old days with the older Rangers, is they had the big, beautiful fiberglass fender, but there was no place to step on it. And even for us, when we were running tournaments, it was tough to even check the live well, because you had no place to get up in the boat. So this is a wonderful step. They also put another step down here if you can't reach your leg all the way up, which makes it very nice. We have the touring package on this one, which has the aluminum alloy wheels. The other thing with Ranger trailers, they come standard with tandem axle disc brakes. A very, very good braking system. They have a new oil bath hub system that is actually an oil grease hub. It's a very, very heavy oil, almost like a grease when it's sitting there. As soon as it starts to warm up, it actually turns to a very heavy oil. But the great thing about it is they actually have a 5-year, 100,000 mile no maintenance area to them. So basically they're telling us to leave them alone for 5 years. You don't have to repack them, you don't have to touch them, which is wonderful. The other thing about Ranger trailers and it's hard to see, I know, on the camera, is that the trailers are not painted. They're actually road armored, which is a spray-on bed liner, and is wonderful. It really resists rock chips. It resists any kind of rusting, anything. The spray-on bed liner is a huge feature to a boat. I know a lot of companies have tried to do it. No one's really gotten it to lay down as nice as Ranger has. I mean, the finish is amazing. If you do get a painted trailer, a colored trailer, they actually put paint on top of it, so you are definitely still protected even with a painted colored trailer. And also, all of their trailers are C-channel. And it's a huge deal now that we've been selling boats about 21 years. It's awesome to see how the Ranger trailers are holding up, and the other boat brands are not. Okay, and we're getting 15-year-old trailers out there that you're driving down the road and the frames are breaking. Well, they're rusting from the inside out because there's water that holds in those tube trailers. And so there's really nothing you can do to stop that other than have a C-channel trailer. So their trailers are all C-channel. They do all their own wiring there at the plant. They make all their own wiring harnesses. Everything about them is just top-notch. They have the ultimate trailers, 4 bunks, drive on, just a perfect system. So it kind of just matches to the boat, the greatest covers, the greatest trailers. I mean, they do it at Ranger. It's just an awesome rig.